you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Um, we are going to have a session, or we are going to talk about what today looks like for design professionals and as an industry, or for the world together. So, just an introduction about myself. I am Dushyant Kanungo. I play a role of Director of Product Design at Together Inc. It's a design studio which is a larger part or extended part or arm for Galaxy Weblinks, where I am head of user experience design. I started my career in 2002. I started very early. I had completed my graduation and then I joined CDAC and I just started and jumped into the field of design. So overall 19 years in the digital arts domain and have done quite a bit of a work with the different companies, agencies, studios across the world. The few of the bigger work that we have done is with Netgear and Staples, which is these are my current clients for whom we work for. I played the role of the designer for Geo when they were rolling out the entire network across the country. So we had the applications that help them install the 110,000 something towers and the big data application that was managing the data for the call connectivity, handoffs, transfers, drop calls to Santander Bank for their retail banking experiences, to the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They use some part of our um, the offering that we have in the education domain, and so does the Wall Street Journal. um, so overall, over the years, I just have been around with many companies and many countries. So every time when we have this discussion that where the world is headed, what the domains are going to see, I tell them that even in my previous experience, for example, Sony Ericsson's was it doesn't exist anymore. Sony and Ericsson have parted ways, but I was part of the team where we designed applications that would connect to the internet. So that's just the frame-based apps that used to come pre-installed on those old Sony Ericsson mobile phones. So they had a camera series which had amazing level of cameras, and then there was Walkman series which had amazing sound quality. But they all had these apps which would connect to the internet, use the data, and the edge internet was primarily the point they used at that time. And so everybody thought that was the future ahead. And there was no such thing as browsers or smartphones. And we are talking about those dummy feature phones at that time, to a point where we are designing the local OS for Geo phones, which is a feature phone, but it has Facebook on top of it. Netgear's 5G routers are playing a bigger role. Arlo is smart home automation systems. You have the Chime doorbell, smart wireless cameras that actually stream up to 4K. So you can imagine the way these things work, and then everybody just thinks about what the future is going to be. Dyson, on the other end, they invented Sir James Dyson. He was the one who invented bagless vacuum cleaners to the air blade systems where you just put your hand in and it cleans it up. Um, these are the products and services. They were revolutionary, and when they arrived, they were benchmark services that the world saw in their own rights. Santander has something called Cahoots, which is a virtual bank. You do everything that a bank does, but it doesn't have a physical branch anywhere. And now we are talking about all the wallets and the banking services offered, but you need to have a solid banking background to operate in the complete capacity as Cahoots does. So the future and the question, they both go hand in hand. One of the beauties about science fiction is that every time you see something in a science fiction movie, television series, or a novel that you read, the thought comes to mind that is it possible? Is it going to happen? So about a century ago, earlier in the last century, they had this World's Fair I think it was between the First and the Second World War. It took place in Chicago, and they showed a lot of technology that may come into the future. There were ideations done, people were joining in from all walks of life, and it made a lot of prediction at that time that how the people of 21st century will live and interact with the world. But that's one part of the things. If you look at, if any of you are the Star Trek fans, you would realize that the transponder became the mobile phones as we see today, and to a point where, if you have seen the Star Trek movies, somebody would come up with a chart, the flip chart, and rather than giving it normal methods of presentation, they didn't think that that was possible. So there was there was a tripod and the chart on the top of it, and then somebody was going around with a stick rather than the laser pointer. So sometimes science fiction gets the future right, sometimes it doesn't. They want to have those healing options sorted. Now they are working towards that transporter technology where they can transport one atom to the other place. But anyhow, all those things are possible, may not possible. They can work around in limited capacity somewhere. So this is where I would ask a question to you, which is, if the chat is enabled, I am not sure if it is. Um, what is your private superhero from DC or Marvel? Anybody can mention what are their favorite superheroes in the chat? Iron Man. There was, yeah. You can chat, you can annotate too, but sorry, my bad. I need to start sharing again. Okay. Uh, so let me open my chat box. Iron Man, Hawkeye, Thanos. Thanos is not a hero, Karan. Thanos is a villain. But yeah, I understand where you getting the information that you just need to wipe out everything and start afresh. But say for Iron Man has a suit that actually comes to the rescue, and that is where the technological part villains are Batman and Iron Man, and both of them rely upon the technology which is created and designed and defined around them. So when you look at Iron Man, it has Jarvis installed in their system, and Jarvis later on gets on to transform into, with the help of the stone, it becomes uh, the villain, the Ultron, and the same technology was used to create Vision. So IA plays a bigger role when it comes to making sure that Iron Man actually works the way it does. So when you have the voice-based interfaces, that is the key to well, the future as being predicted by science fiction at this very moment. So you have Alexa devices, Siri, which comes with Apple, and the HomePod, which is silently they have killed it off because it is not selling as good as they thought. Google now, or OK Google as it is referred to many times. From the speakers, it is more active into the devices or Android enabled television. And Cortana, on the other end, is also not doing well, and Windows 11 has tried to stop the entire slate of Cortana enabled products. But Alexa on one end and Google Now, these are the two front runners for the technology. And because of that, I'm just stating the facts as they are available right now. But now, with voice commands coming into the foray, they started with phone based systems. So Siri was the first voice assistant. Echo came in later on in 2014. Google Home came out in 16. In 18, we had 500 million devices uh, who were supported by some sort of system that was taking advantage of. Um, yeah, that's right. Thanos could have doubled the resources instead of wiping out. But then again, there is no space, right? Everybody wants to live in a bigger city or in a small town. You can't increase the size of land. You can always increase the resources, and nobody goes hungry. But that's that. And Right now, when we look at the future, the proliferation of the devices where you can actually tell a device to perform certain tasks. So one example could be that the smart devices can talk to each other. The internet of things is going to play a bigger role, so you can tell your washing machine when to start and stop. You can simply command your microwave that what temperature do you want it to work on. And it is not going to be difficult because you already know how to interact with Siri or Alexa. Same fashion, if you want to tell the television that what channel you should move to, it is possible. Um, Alexa's enabled Fire Sticks, they do that. Um, YouTube does it, that you need to just tell your device that what video or what sort of uh, material you wish to explore and watch. And that is the future. That is where the technology will interact with itself. Device to device communication becomes a bigger part. The challenge here is, how do you design for voice based interaction? You can't just imagine that every single word that you have said is understood by the machine. If you have seen or if you have worked with Alexa enabled devices, then it always going to be an issue where you need to configure the responses as well, because you can't just keep telling the user that we don't you don't understand what you're talking about. Some algorithm some way should answer in some capacity what the other person means, and that means inclusion, that means ideation, that means the capacity to make decisions on their own. So machine learning and artificial intelligence, big data analytics will play major roles in creating such systems. But as designers, it doesn't matter that how the backend will function. The backend will use Python as the primary tool. I mean, Alexa, if you're developing anything for the platform, you work with Python. But interactions that you can design, that what command will trigger the application that you want it to play. Just simply saying that play this song, it does. If you want to tell it Alexa skip 10 seconds or Alexa skip to 1 minute or start playing songs of this sort and then stop playing the song after 30 minutes. And it will follow the command and it will do just that for you. But other than that, if you want to add another skill, all the applications which are installed on Alexa are called skills. So if you want to teach Alexa a new skill or download a new app, both are the same things. You need to open the skill or open the app, and then you are in the interaction mode. The more confirmations that you are going to seek from the customer or the user, the more times the user has to say a word, there are chances that the system will get it wrong. The different accents, the different languages, barriers, they are always going to cause some sort of friction. And that is where user gets frustrated and stops using applications altogether. The Hindi supported devices in Alexa, they are quite nice because A, they get the interaction with the accents which are used throughout India and are able to answer for some skills in Hindi or local languages. And then you need to see that if you are creating an interaction design or user journey map, rather than calling for touch points or action buttons, now you are designing that what the person should say, or ideally the response would come in the form of yes, no, one, two, okay, or the song's name, and whatever string the system is hearing, then you need to take that dictation and then process for it. It's not that difficult for systems to process any input that you have received, but not many people are actually designing for it, because there is nothing to design. When you talk about design, everybody thinks that designing is with colors, grids, panels, mock-ups, interactive prototypes, but it's not like that, because voice prototypes are harder to create. The best thing you can do is you can create information architecture, you can design the information architecture and interaction design, how to interact with those devices, even if it is just done in a flowchart base. That is absolutely fine, that what you are going to say and what the system is going to respond with. And if that sort of skill is created, if you can just create a video out of it that say that this is how it should work, and then get a Python developer and get your skill on Alexa. That is how easy to use that skill could be. Google, on the other end, they develop all their applications on their own for the Google search platform or the OK Google thing, the voice platform. But there are open-ended nodes available that you can design or for those skills for Android phones or the Google Voice Assistant as well. So when we talk about future, there is another factor that plays a bigger role to the grand scheme of things, which is accessibility. Now, accessibility is such a big word that generally in the design community it is known simply as A11Y or ALI. So when the voice commands or voice based interfaces were introduced, they were not inspired by Iron Man. They were inspired by people who could not see. The inclusive design is the idea that leads the forefront. So anything that comes out of voice-based commands, the idea is that the person who is using it has some sort of disability that they cannot use the touch devices or the keyboard or the keypad, so they can simply say this thing in the microphone and it should work. Um, so it is not just for the people with vision impairment, but it can be used for other people as well. And when that thing happens in accessibility, it is called a curb cut effect. So what is a curb cut effect? Curb cut effect applies to when you design for one purpose, a design is made for a purpose, but it actually supports other people as well. Other people get benefit from it. So the curbs, as in the footpath, whenever there is a crossing from one street end to another, in US, in Europe, generally they have the slope design or the curve is cut, and these are installed. So what happens is that the idea was somebody in a wheelchair should easily be able to cross the road because there is a cut on the road, and they can easily uh, pull their wheelchair or mobility vehicle and cross the road. But are they the only people who are getting benefit out of it, who can't walk or on their own? No, there are other people who benefit from this as well. The bumps at the other end, they also dictate to the blind person that here is the place where I should be crossing the street. But people with strollers, uh, they have kids in the buggies, they can use the curb cut to cross the road. The skateboarders, the cyclists, they can all utilize the same space for the purpose that is designed for a wheelchair bound person. It is not just about the accessibility of somebody who can't cross because of the height, but for the other purposes, it can also be used. The bumps, they were designed for the visually impaired people to know that this is the point I need to cross the road. But imagine somebody who has who's busy on their mobile phones, and they just, they are not looking at the street or where they are. They just see the bumps and they can stand there. And then there will be a sound when the crossing light turns green, and it sounds tuck 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 in most of the cities across the world. And they can, without even looking anywhere away from their phone, they can cross the streets. And it happens and it actually works. And this is where you say that the accessibility is important, because it not just solves the one problem that you're designing it for, it actually works for other people in the flow as well. Now, when I say about inclusivity in design, I think that is the biggest factor that will play out a bigger role in the future, in my opinion. Design is very subjective. It is never going to be um, predictable, to say the least. There are gesture-based interactions that came out a few years ago, not as popular in India, but everywhere else in the world. So we saw this in Wii consoles as it first arrived. It led from, so you have these remotes in hands and you just wave it, and you can play tennis on the screen. If you have Xbox 360 or Xbox One, older consoles, they had a Kinect camera installed on them. And what Kinect camera did was you can just stand in front of the device and play for hours without even touching anything. Kids in my family, they spend hours over that Kinect, and they get so tired they want to skip school the next day. It is still functional, but the Xbox have decided to kill it off now. So the technology came, saw what the purpose was, and it's not evolving further. But that doesn't mean that the Kinect or the technology, say we fit, is gone and gone for good. They will be back. There will be a time when these services will have some sort of future when it can map out things or do the remote sensing work as we are mapping out surface of the Mars, or the same technology is being used by the military to map out the hilly areas of any movement with the drone based technology. But when it comes to gesture control, you can have wearable devices such as a smartwatch, and you can wave with your hands and should be able to take maybe a picture or maybe call somebody. Or now we have the gesture that we do in front of the screens. But on the larger side of things, if you think about the gestures used in Iron Man, they are quite visible, that you can see the screen floating in the midair. That is possible. So that is where AR comes in. AR means augmentative technology, or like augmentative reality. Augmentation means an overlay of digital data on top of what you are looking at right now. And virtual reality means it is just replacing to the real world where the person is based at. I think VR has its own advantages, but it is not going to be as popular as augmentative reality or AR will be soon. There are uses to VR that we haven't yet thought about. Same as with AR, the technology is limited. There are big bucks invested by the industry for both of the technologies. And with that, I would like to show you a small video of augmentative reality. It's a 6-minute video of Minecraft with Microsoft's HoloLens demo. It is about 6 years old, and see that if you can identify the technology.
To show you how it works, let me introduce Brand Director at Mojang, Lydia Winters. Lydia?
Thanks, Kuda. 4 years ago at E3, I met the Mojang team for the very first time. Soon after, I joined them on this unbelievable adventure. This game has changed millions of lives, including my own. In the past 5 years, we've been blown away by the amount of people who have been playing our game. The community's incredible creativity has taken Minecraft into places we never could have imagined. Every day, we see new and exciting things being made. On July 4th and 5th in London, we are going to have the biggest Minecraft celebration in the world at Minecon 2015. We can't wait to share more with the community there and be inspired by their ideas. We're always trying to harness new technology and create new ways of playing the game. With that in mind, please let me welcome Zach Spearson from Microsoft Studios, and we're excited to be able to show a new version of Minecraft built specifically for Microsoft HoloLens.
Thank you, Lydia. To show our demo today, we're using a special camera. This display technique is like putting a HoloLens right on the camera itself, allowing the entire audience to see the holograms. Now, this is a live demo with real working code. Let's show what it can do.
You can play the Minecraft you know today on HoloLens.
So this person has sat down, and the HoloLens has projected Microsoft Minecraft on the wall. and the lady is also joining into the fun of the game. So there she is, and it is projected there. Let me just see if I can unmute it once again. Sorry, I don't know where my cursor was. Okay,
One of the cool things about HoloLens is that it lets you display Minecraft virtually anywhere. You
see, it
can
is
get
not
different
visible.
perspectives on your Minecraft world. It's awesome to play with the controller, but could we show them something new, Sax?
Sure. Take our experience off the wall and then put it on the table over here. Create world. Let's see Lydia way up there.
As I run around the place, Sax can easily navigate and manipulate the world using his voice and his hands. He can walk around the hologram, pan around for different viewpoints, and even look inside.
Let's follow Lydia around for a bit. Follow player. I can zoom in and out for a better perspective. Closer. All the way in. Close up. You up to Lydia?
I'm hopping in a minecart.
Let's take a ride down to the village. We're going to take a different perspective. Overview.
It's incredibly cool to have Minecraft on your table. Imagine seeing your own worlds like this. Isn't it crazy that I see Sax just standing at the table, but through the HoloLens, he can see a whole Minecraft universe at his fingertips. You can even raise the entire world and see things that are normally hidden way underneath the ground. Could you give us a sneak peek of what's under that village, Sax?
Sure. Grab the world. Lift it up. Let's see what's hiding underneath Lydia. Ooh. Huge stronghold right underneath. I'm going to mark that for you. Mark that. You're going to have to find it over here.
I see it. I'm on my way there now. I'm placing some TNT so I can blow my way into this stronghold. I could use a light though, Sax.
Strategy. Using HoloLens, I have access to all console commands in Minecraft just using my voice, but I can just focus my gaze on the TNT and say, lightning strike. Step back.
Whoa! There's a lot of materials down there I wouldn't have seen without you.
There's one more thing I want to do with lightning. See, pig pen over here. I think the pigs need an upgrade. Lightning.
Exciting. Something that you guys have seen before, maybe an old piece of technology. The game was played right there on the screen, and it was on the table, which was not visible by anybody else but the people who had those vision glasses on. And so that is how those floating screens are possible. That augmented reality will happen if you are wearing those glasses. So Microsoft HoloLens 2 is the device which is implemented or used for this. You can have a TV as big as your wall. You can play Netflix on it, and all you need to do is wear those glasses and pin the screen on your wall. And the way it works is that you can walk around the house, and the HoloLens sensors will uh, map out the room and objects where they are, and then you can put those apps. So you can have a weather app on the table. You can have a window, a TV on the wall, uh, and any other person in the same room using the same glasses can see whatever is going on that telly or the screen. And the beauty part two is that they will have, it will feel like that you have all those objects in the house, but as soon as you remove them, they are gone. And this is like the movie Ready Player One, where most of the things are, well, that is basically the VR. but you can have those things in your house and without even realizing that you actually own them. Everything is digital, everything is placed where they're supposed to be. Now, the downside of AR with HoloLens is that there is very tiny viewport. Right now, with the camera, you see there are so many things going on, but the field of view where exactly these items appear is just right in front of you. You cannot see it wider than the very tiny bit of area in the view, and that is why the technology is yet to evolve and move from where it stands. There was another app that came with Windows Phone in the past, which was called Joblens. And what it did was you open your application, just point to the buildings, and it will tell you what sort of openings those offices have. Because by the location data, it will realize that where you are standing. If you are searching for a particular job, you can just type in, say, UX designer, and you can walk on the streets and just put the camera across, and on your screens it will tell you that, okay, this company on your left has this job, on the right it may have an opening for that particular position that you're looking for. So augmentation is amazing. Furthermore, we do the same things when we are driving vehicles, and it can happen that your front screen can be used as a projector screen where the directions can be displayed right over there to turn left or right or go straight or change lanes as soon as it will happen. Here is another video of VR. Now, VR is a fun thing. VR might not be the cup of tea for everybody, and it is just some fails that you can see. So, okay, so this is how I see, or my view of VR is that it is still miles away from being something that you use every day. One of the application ideas that I had about the use of VR, you want to see what is uh, in those VR. Okay, they are games, scary zombie games. If you want, you can just buy a Google Cardboard from Amazon, from Prime, I think. And the second thing you can do is you can put your phone inside those VR boxes, go to YouTube and play some experience which are designed for VR. One of them is Stranger Things. So if you have seen the Stranger Things season one, you see the zombies or the whatever the ghost from the underworld coming out of the walls, and that thing happens. And some people who know what to expect, they will know what's going on. Otherwise, those games can be installed and played. If you are buying a high-end rig such as Oculus from Facebook, that has more um, options, or the multiple options that they have offered, that what goes on in those VRs. So most of the VRs you see are generally of the fail variety, and everybody who wants to play them, sometimes it is not safe because they are in the household and they don't realize that where they are headed, and that is why it causes. So in India, you can try these VR rigs by going into malls. All the play zones they have it. You can play cricket. You can sit down on a ride. But practically, the uses of VR are quite limited. With the new technologies on the horizon, such as 5G, which you all might have heard that something is coming. Um, any ideas how 5G is going to change your experience as an end user? Any ideas? Okay, Dipansh, you haven't found anything scary, but maybe. Uh, but there are games in even HoloLens. There are games where they come out of your own house's walls, so it happens. So, any ideas that you guys think that 5G can work? Connected technology, automation. Okay, what are you going to connect it to? Automation is a good word, but where exactly it is headed? What are the usage that you see that they are going to change in your life surroundings? Okay, so what about what say the moment you got smartphones, the world changed. You have the maps, you have the apps, and the, well, it used to be called turnkey applications. The word apps actually came later, when iPhone 3GS was launched. That came with an app store, and that is when they started calling applications mobile apps. So now, 4G actually gave you the revolution where you can stream videos, have video classrooms. Um, so imagine if the pandemic happened in 2002. We had those Nokia phones. We all could have played Snake all day, and that's it. We are done. Nothing could have happened. Now, because of 4G, we had this connectivity. I am taking this call from somewhere in the center of the country, and you guys are maybe all over the country or maybe abroad. So this is how 4G has enabled. But will 5G change it? Am I going to update in the entire hardware that I have just to adopt for 5G? How is it going to change your life in the next couple of years? In reality, 5G will have impact, but not on you. Nothing is going to change for a common man when it comes to the technical interactions. If you have a Geo broadband installed at home, I think you are as good as golden, because the speeds that you are going to get are going to be the same. Right now, people don't want to download because the storage has become increasingly expensive. Most of the data that you have is on the clouds, and cloud are selling services for hosting at premium. All the designs that you are creating, all the data that you have right now, it has to be stored. So automation in automobiles is absolutely right observation. It will not be a thing because of connected technology and 5G implementations. Cars will be moving around like humans move on a street, for example. So it is not a future thing. It is happening right now. If you have seen the demos of Tesla, which you obviously have, the way they are roaming around town in Silicon Valley is a thing to witness. Apple is making smart cars, self-driven cars where no driver is required. Tesla can do it. Tesla is fully automated. There is a feature they have on the your app that you can summon your car. It's basically, if it is parked and you can't open a door, you can summon the car in the parking lot and it will come to you at a defined speed. They have the cameras, they know how to work their way around. The technology is called LIDAR, LIDR, I think that is how it is spelled. And LIDAR is the way they are scanning the surroundings and working, but they are not connected to any other car for the moment. I mean, as you can imagine, but on the testing phase, Teslas are connected to each other. But what if a Toyota or a Ford moves around like that? Toyota and Ford are a long way off, yes, but that is where the future is headed. If that is what is happening, how it is going to impact the design of things? Right now, if you say I want to phase out the BS5 vehicles and go to BS6 vehicles, it is going to be a very uphill ask, that you are not going to abandon your car that you have purchased 3 years or 2 years ago. Electric vehicle adoption is the biggest of the challenges that we have. Connected devices will play a role. I was coming to the smart cars, yes, as you were coming for it. The one thing that it can happen with smart cars is they can be connected to the grid, so the street lights can play uh, on and off when the cars are coming in. They don't have to be switched on all the times. If they sense a movement on the street, they can decide somebody is walking around. They can identify if it is a dog or a car or a human and provide them with the lights switched on. And when there is no movement, nothing is happening, they can turn off the lights, so to say. So that is one part. Second part about the smart integration is that if the car is moving towards your house, the house can automatically start the heating. It's not applicable in India, but it is very real, very much needed in the West. That the heating part and turning off the devices or whatever you have at home. There are smart apps right now which can actually tell you to buy stuff if you go near the store or if you walk by. So, um, one example is uh, the Starbucks. If you have the Starbucks app in UK and you have previously ordered something customized drink while you were there, and it reflects in your account because you are connecting points. So the next time you're driving by, or there is a chance that on your way there could be a Starbucks, it will remind you that hey, you enjoyed that coffee last time. Wouldn't hurt to try it another one or the same thing, and that way the engagement will be improved. These nudging points, they can actually work in the favor. If you're driving away from home, it can shut down all the appliances other than the only required mechanism to save power, or make sure that the home is secured. The locks can be done like that. If you're arriving home, it can unlock the house, identifying by you or the devices that you are actually carrying. The data, the amount of data that goes with those interactions is the key here, that how much they want to invest in changing it. Another technological advantage that we thought could come was with Continuum, another technology from Microsoft. Sorry, I'm not a Microsoft person. I have nothing to do with them. I'm doing this presentation from a Mac machine. But here, they came up with something called Continuum, where there were no two versions of Windows 10. The Windows 10, as it was installed on the desktop, Windows 10 was installed on the phone. But if you had a Windows phone, you can simply connect it with a cable to a box in the middle, which has an HDMI output and the power, and I think for the keyboard or the mouse, and you can see all the applications on your bigger screen. So it would just responsively adapt the design for the apps that you have on your phone to the screen itself. So the storage is on your phone, the processor is on your phone, all the files you're storing is local, and you can work to the stronger applications right there and then. It was a cool idea. It was fantastic and fabulous. If you think that you can do certain work on a particular tablet, it is just a matter of the screen size, because all the processing power is already compacted enough that it was fit into the phone. In the future, it is still my firm belief that there will be a time that I can carry a device that I'm going to dock at work, and the moment I'm docking it, um, I think there is a camera which is turned on. The moment I'm docking my device on the port, the application will automatically be seen on the bigger screen. So you don't have to carry multiple devices. So a tablet or a phone or a computer, it will all turn into one device. So if you are at the airport and if you want to work for, say, for your purpose, you can simply dock the device and everything can be worked from there. There will be fluid workplaces. We have work from home. We do have that hot desking technology, but having that mobile management, these softwares are very popular. That certain companies, what they do is that rather than asking you to carry multiple devices, they will install a folder application, and that requires authentication. Once you open it, that is when you get to see all the office related applications inside of it. So you open one application and it has the Office Skype, Office Mail, Office management applications with part of it. So that happens. Office, I'm not saying Microsoft Office, but the work related solutions are protected. So even if you lose your device, the data is protected still. And all the data, because it is protected, if you lose your device, you don't need to fret. All you need to do is just get another device, sign in with your account, and all your data and configuration is restored. So virtually, you are not dependent on either your devices or the data storage and worry about backup. And that is how the mobility of the future is going to be. The hardware dependencies are going to be lesser as we move into the future. Previously, when the email came in the early years before um, India's own uh, Sabir Bhatia, uh, I think that was his name, Raju Bhatia, invented Hotmail and sold it to Microsoft. I think Raju Bhatia is Akshay Kumar, so I'm not sure that I'm taking the right name. But it was an Indian guy who sold it in 2.5 million or 200 million to Microsoft, and that is when people uh, were not bound by computers to check their emails. They were able to check their emails from anywhere in the world. And Hotmail led to Yahoo, and then there was a service which was by Netscape. And initially, they had very tiny storages. You get to have 5 megabytes of storage or 3 megabytes of storage in your inbox. And when Gmail arrived, Gmail said, "Hey, don't worry about it. Use as much space you want to," because they said we have like 2 gigabytes of space of unlimited one. And now they are saying that 15 gigabytes is the upper limit for the free platform, and for the rest you need to pay. All the tech that we talked about in the discussion so far, everything that we discussed, VR, AR, 5G, mobility, or depending or dependency on the hardware and the voice-based interactions, they every single bit of it happened over the last maximum you can count for 10 years. Before that, things were different. In 2008 or 9, when 8 I think, when they first launched the iPhone, the Android version that was being built was completely dependent upon the design BlackBerry had presented, with a QWERTY keyboard and half the screen visible. And phones came in different shapes and sizes, and the screen used to be different, and they had some very fancy designs. If you look at the legacy that Microsoft, or sorry, the Nokia was building, there were phones which were, rather than being just the phones, they were luxury items to be carried around. They had this phone design especially for ladies, which had a mirror to check their lipstick, and that was their pitch, that you can actually use it as a mirror too, rather than having two different things in your pocket. They had a rotary phone where you have to dial the number by rolling the main pad. But the moment iPhone was launched, 2 days later, uh, Google people, they just went in and abandoned anything. They just scrapped the whole project, that the Android that they were working on for the last 2 to 3 years. Then it took them about 2 years to launch the first version of Android, which was somewhere nearer to what Google was offering. All the phones since then are just a black mirror that we carry in our pockets. So it hasn't been that long. I mean, I can imagine everybody in this call are second year or fourth year students, um, so or third year students. But if you think about it, you guys weren't even born when the mobile revolution happened in India, with Reliance India Mobile came. Kar lo duniya mutti mein was the slogan, and they started selling phones for 500 rupees. And before that, it was very niche um gadget to have. I know a time when outgoing call was 32 rupees per minute, and incoming was the same price, 32 rupees incoming, 32 rupees outgoing. Having a top up was a big deal. Anybody who had a mobile phone would show it off, and well, because it cannot fit in their pocket, so they have to carry it. It was a brick of half a kilo that they have to carry around. It was ridiculous, but people were using it. Alcatel was in the picture. There was another company called RPG. RPG was then converted to Smart, and then it was into Reliance, and then into Idea. So there was the Idea was called something else back then too, and now even Idea doesn't exist, and now we have we instead of those services. So yeah, so there's so many players that came into telecom market, and they saw and they went away, including Docomo or Vodafone or Hutch, Orange, so on and so forth. So now, where we stand, where the technology will go will make a bigger change. The reason being that it's not just us in the picture, but now the whole world after the pandemic, it looks at different trends that it will change. Ideally, this should change and it will change because every time there was a disastrous moment in the world decided to change itself. If you know the history of the world, there was a period which is called Renaissance in Europe. Renaissance actually saw the the creative industry or the world in arts grow, and it happened right after the plague, the Black Death, as it is called in the Middle Ages. The Dark Ages ended, and Dark Ages ended, and with that death that happened in the world, basically, particularly in Europe, they had the period of Renaissance where painters like Leonardo da Vinci, inventors like Leonardo da Vinci, Picasso, and other greats, Michelangelo, they came and started creating art around, and that gave the wave ahead for the future that where the world should go. The world changed after the plague or the bigger death in, I think, again 1920, as they call it. Then World War One happened. People were recovering. World War Two happened, and when the disaster strikes, the world adjusts and goes according to where they want to go. And now we are living through this era where we have seen people who haven't been to the schools for the last 2.5 years. Students are being pre-promoted, so the notion of education is going to change. People who were very proud about the marks, the horse race, now it has to come to a stop. All the competitive exams that people were weighing about the ranks and all the coaching institutions, we need to judge people now based on what inventive ideas they can actually produce, the creativity, the originality of the thought process. It should increase because we are not bound by the norms of the world anymore. In our country itself, we need to see that worshipping idols is not the right way ahead. Everything happens for a reason, and then, as you say, I mean, yeah, everything, including the disasters which happen time and again, just to make sure that we course correct the way we are looking at things now. So how is it going to impact? I mean, we are looking at 5G rollout, so Internet of Things is supposed to happen. So we need to design our interfaces for devices which are smaller, or there are interfaces where there is no interface. So voice command based devices where they can actually run. So that will happen. And we need to see that those interactions are mapped out. The interaction design becomes the key field where people want to be focusing their focus on. Yes, zero UI, as it is also referred to. Inclusive illustrations. The movements which are happening across America and the world, the first movement is called Black Lives Matter. I don't understand the entire ideology about it, but yeah, inclusiveness, female representation, a representation of people of color. It's not about woke design, as sometimes it irks me to watch Bridgerton on Netflix that there is no way you can have black uh, people in the prominent roles in Victorian um, England. It's not historically correct, and that is my opinion. Again, everything that I am talking about in this presentation is my personal opinion, and I'm not forcing you to follow it because ideas are meant to be broken and challenged, and you guys need to come up with the thought process on the different level where it can be broken into, and you need to create your own way of thinking by looking at the evidence which is presented. When you look at science, everything has to be broken and reassembled in the correct direction. Focused in e-commerce is bound to happen because if you buy everything from Amazon or Flipkart, your local businesses are devastated. If you think about it, there are two shops. One sells shoes, another sells mobile phones. The mobile phone owner, shop owner, is buying his shoes online, and the shoe shop owner is buying his mobile phones online. So Either of them is not getting any business which is supposed to be local, and they are saying there is no money to be made in the market because uh, nobody is coming to their shops. They themselves are not actually relying on the local commerce, and that is how businesses die. Moms and pops businesses, or moms and pop shops as it is often referred to, or the corner shops they had in England, they are closing down because in areas, even a small colony will have a Spar or a Sainsbury's open. Same goes with Walmart or all the bigger supermarket chains like Reliance Fresh coming to uh, with a very small store in the corner of your colony. Now, the problem is that people get employment there, yes. The sourcing, they may be local, that they are buying from the local mandis. But what about the shops which were out there to pay the tuition fee of the local businessmen? They are forced to shut down their businesses, and that is why they need to up their game by focused e-commerce, which is locally sourced um, product purchasing. So we are already doing it. If you're ordering food from Zomato or Swiggy, you are supporting the local e-commerce. Even in this time of the pandemic, not going out and just getting the food in. And because of it, it has increased. There are plenty of cloud kitchens which are around. Cloud kitchen, as in that they don't have a restaurant in presence physically, but they have a kitchen which is certified by the local authority that it is fit for consumption or sales of food, and they can just sell their product from there. Behro's Biryani is one big example. It's a big chain. They do not have any restaurant. All they have is the listings that they have made or um, Zomato or Swiggy. I am at a town called Badwani right now, and it is my cousin's living place, and the town is hardly 100,000 people strong. But they have launched a local application for all the purchasing of groceries and the purchase of food. And that is how focused e-commerce works. 1,000 downloads is a big victory. So now they know that anytime they need to buy something from the shops around the town, they can just simply order from their own. Yes, there are still going to be hurdles about the credit management. There are going to be hurdles about the delivery, if the amount is prepaid, postpaid, how they are going to manage. But they know the shops where they are purchasing from in the past. But right now, they can just make a list and order without going to get out of the house. Cloud kitchens are called ghost kitchen in big fancy hotels. Hmm, nice observation, Anand. But see, there are many ways the businesses have evolved, and the focused commerce is going to pave way for the bigger corporate level dealings. So Amazon's horror stories are all over the internet. You see, they don't have any welfare, or generally very low welfares for the employees who work for them. So that is where community platforms do come in. So community platforms will allow people to buy, sell, exchange focused goods and services. Uh, there are some platforms which are there, but not as focused as some of them which are quite available in the West, where the contracting takes place. The e-agreements are evidently built. If I want to buy something of a farmer, and if a farmer is willing to sell something, the negotiation can take place. The bidding, the reverse bidding platforms can happen, and it will go down into a path where all the exchanges that you have with the real world are going to be virtual. They can be on VR platforms, it can be on AR platforms, it can be on the websites or mobile apps. These things are happening. The dating sites are one of the examples. The speed daters that they have changed the way. I've recently come across a project where you bid to be dated. So a guy can choose three charities that he's willing to donate the money to, and then people bid uh, on the person, and whatever and then he gets a list of top 5 bidders, and he can choose for somebody to go out on a date with. And the date is pre-decided, the location is decided. If they are choosing, say, we are need to go to cafe coffee day, and we'll have a coffee at any given point of time and talk about things, and the person can actually choose, and they meet and have a conversation there. But the money which is generated by or bid by the person who is interested goes to the charity that the guy has selected in advance. So it is social cause along with your online dating websites together. In India, those are called matrimonial websites, if you know, but they work the same way. Then comes micro interactions. Micro interactions are methods or the way we are interacting with the systems without even acknowledging that something was going on. You see at the top of this screen, there is a cloud which has a red dot in the middle, and that is indicating that this meeting is being recorded, and anything that you are actually saying is going to be recorded on the cloud for further references. It is secured meeting space, and everything is covered right there. So it is a micro interaction, but it is there to tell you that something is going on. Same thing happens on your phone. If you are on a call, if you move away from it, that the indicator is there that it is still being on, and somebody or some other application is using your microphone. The light turns on your laptop if the video is switched on. So this is where things will head further in the next year. Um, when we are looking into IT and the projects that the company is getting these days, many of our clients are calling the current era as the golden age of e-commerce, because high street shops were already closing, the moms and pops, brick and mortar shops. They were already under pressure from big retailers. Now the retailers are under threat from e-tailers. So Blockbuster had to make way for Netflix once upon a time. Now, Big Basket is making waves. Even your most reliable shops are asking that here's what we are selling, here are the pricing. Please let us know. We will deliver goods and services to your doorstep, because they know they have to adopt to sustain their business. It's real hard work and real risky work for has become for the grocery store owners or the medical store owners. The appointment system has changed now. If you guys are vaccinated, congratulations. If you haven't yet got your first dose, go and book an appointment. And I would highly recommend to get those vaccines straight away um, for a better future and to get the world where it should be. We are not in a big pause. The world has moved on the digital side. There was a time when people were thinking and quite worried that what is going to happen, and nothing was moving. For anybody who is into IT, I will tell you that the world has changed for us in a different manner. Everybody has slowed down, but we have picked up so much pace. It is really hard to keep up. My team went from 35 to 30 and now back to 42, and then we are looking at targets of adding another 10 people by end of this year, even before that. So having a team of 60 designers is required because that amount of work is coming, and the work is coming because hiring somebody in Silicon Valley is very expensive, and they were paying big bucks for them to come to office in Silicon Valley. Now, due to lockdown, the people have moved in Ohio or um, Texas, where the price or the cost of living is very low. The mayor of New York said that, or the bankers in New York have said that if they want to earn the money which is being paid in New York, they have to come to offices. Otherwise, they can stay in whatever state they are. But that comes with a difference in IT, because if the work from home culture has that many advantages and we can survive that long, so how does it matter if your developer is in India or Bangladesh or Brazil or Russia? They are getting their work done, and that is all that matters. And even on the cheaper pricings, and because of the e-commerce boom, everybody wants to have a piece of the pie where they want to have their own app on their website and something, and that is where they are coming to the market in a flurry. So right now, the sales teams, they are in override. We are passing on projects. We are not looking at certain type of projects because we do not even have the resources. People are getting an upmarking of over 300 to 350% when it comes to job changes. People who are in Python big data sciences are getting big bucks right off the bat. People who are working with React, they are asking for a 300% markup of their current salaries. But then the question comes to beg is that, is it the right way to plan your career? Because right now there is a big boom and you're all jumping into the foray, but there may be a time when this will all go away. What will that happen then? So you need to find a sustainable path that can actually lead to the victories. Any person that we are hiring, the first thing that we want from the person is the genuinity. So you are all designers, I assume. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Second is that LinkedIn is not Facebook. Do not post things which you would not like your boss to see. No happy Monday, no good morning, no good evenings. That is batshit crazy. You should not be doing it. Make sure you respect your name, first name and last name, capitalized the way it should be, the first letter only, not in full caps. Make sure that you have some certifications done which are easily available for free on Coursera, LinkedIn Learning. Um, those certifications show that you have the drive to do things on your own. You are not awaiting instructions that somebody would tell you to do certain things and you are doing it. The self starter you claim to be on your CV, you need to actually show that what you have done that nobody else has. Because if I look at a date on that certification, I will realize that somebody has done or completed a task without even being told so, told to do so. When you make your CV, make sure you send it with a cover letter. Just draft something. There are plenty of pre ready templates available. Have salutations. You all know how to write letters for leave. That, dear respected sir or dear sir, I beg to say that I am suffering from fever since last night. So you know that it ends with your sincerely. So there is an opening statement, there is a closing statement, and you're writing something in the middle. And that follows the same with your cover letter or any application that you are sending in for a job. So keep track of those. Be genuine. If you are creating your portfolio, do not reverse engineer it. If you say that you have created IA and then the designs, so make sure you have done it in that order. If you haven't done it, you are actually cheating with the presentation, because it is very easy to catch anybody who is showing a portfolio and say this is the color palette and this is the design. No, you first created the design, you extracted colors, you tried to draw an IA based on what you have designed. Just 1 second, there is a local truck with music on it. So it was the Swachh Bharat Mission truck singing Gaadi Wala Aaya Ghar Se Kachra Nikal. Be honest with your portfolio and do not try to reinvent the wheel. There are so many designs already available. UI challenges may be a waste of time for some people. They are good to have in practice, but even better, if you want to improve your UI design skills, um, get a design from some other designer and try to see that what sort of spacing and the margin and the padding and the typographic elements they have used. You will learn the sizings that they are using, if you can just take a screenshot of Facebook on your phone and just try to see if you can reassemble the components, it would be a good exercise to know that if you are following the uh, the guidance or the standard design instructions, the guidelines from Microsoft or Apple or Google in their design languages. So again, coming back to the question of this entire discussion, the point where we all started. So what does the future hold? I happened to ask this question to my faculty. I did my graduation from University of the West of England in Bristol, UK, and to the department head, we were having a chat, and I asked him, uh, "What does the future hold? What is the next big thing? What are the trends that we need to be aware about?" And his answer was very simple, which is, "You tell us. You are the designers, and whatever you are going to design is going to be the future. You need to decide that which technology survives and which technology goes away." And that is where I leave you, and welcome any questions that you have. The chat is enabled, so you guys can ask me questions. I can be connected or contacted at LinkedIn on Dushyant MK, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram on Dushyant MK. On Insta, I don't post much. On Twitter, sometimes I design ideas that I like, but generally, LinkedIn connections help um, for a future growth if you want to come to the design industry. So that's that. So thank you very much for your patience. Now, questions, please. Nothing? Or you guys are typing? There, can you tell two things that people can buy online and nobody has thought about it? Uh, you mean that right now we are buying it offline only and we can still buy online? I don't think there is anything that we can buy online which is not available. It depends upon the regulation that what can be shipped and what can't. The deep web marketplaces such as Silk Road was selling drugs, and the British government had to deploy sniffer dogs to check the post or the parcels that were coming to identify if anybody was just buying ganja off the internet. But in other sense, I think I just bought a big wardrobe of Amazon, and people came in. They It was a flat pack furniture. They assembled it for me at home, and they have those installation services available with Urban Clap. There are so many things that you can actually get done if you want to, especially the cleaning services. So you get somebody once a month and get your home tidy like perfectly like that. So assistant services are also available. So I don't think that I can name any two things. If you have any ideas, please let me know. You can share here. Guys, come on. We have 10 more minutes, I think. Yeah, about 13 minutes. Okay, how zero UI will change the user experience design industry. There are, well, number one, right now, the designers, as they stand in India, there's always the notion that UI or general, the design is on site and development can be offshore. Design on site means that designers have to be present with the brainstorming sessions as the investing committee decides or first set of prototypes are created. So what happens with that is in India, designers get paid less than the developers. And outside of India, it is about the same ratio which is followed. And sometimes designers get um, higher salaries depending upon the work they produce. So zero UI actually refers to the user experience part. In India, whenever you say it is from the UX, or generally as it is insulted as UI UX, and never use it. There are two different things. You all know that the UX is a bigger umbrella. UI is part of the user experience. So when you say zero UI, it means that the rest of the experience umbrella stays. So reliance on the design professionals in India will grow. We will be uh, pleased with designing those information architectures and interaction designs and the prototypes for developers to see that this is what we have understood by the requirements, and this is what our UX writer or UX designer have come up with as a solution. It is definitely going to bring more respect because the first fight that designers generally fight is a seat at the table, as they say. Seat at the table, as in the seat of the grown ups table, and you need to move from where you are to be included in the decision making process. And zero UI would mean that they cannot just shoot in the dark and not get any designer on board because that may result in disastrous outcomes, and we need to be ready about those interactions to be prepared. So zero UI is definitely going to have a big impact on the offshore or Indian UX industry, but worldwide it will bring it ideally should bring more respect towards the community. What is the best way to practice and keep learning designing? Watan has asked. Um, the first thing I would say, you are students right now, and if you just keep to creating. So number one thing is that be tool agnostic. Do not think the tool as something that is mission critical in designing anything. You can write with a pencil and a pen and a chalk. The thoughts are important. Now, if it is Figma or XD or Sketch, whatever tool you're using, the use on the base underlying technology is always going to be the same. The best practice should be to take a screenshot of a design that you really like, go to Dribble, go to Behance, take a design, and just try to copy it. And not saying that they are 100% proof. They are the ridiculous designs which are absolutely no good at all, which are presented in certain portfolios. So you need to find real good designers who have taken care of accessibility. Install those plugins in your applications. Figma, XD, Sketch, all three of them come with the options to have plugins for accessibility. Make sure you follow the ADA compliance. Make sure you do the proofreading. Make sure the data units that you are presenting is there. All the visual graphs have scales on them. Read more on design. So books such as Design of Everyday Things is a Bible. Another book that you can actually refer to is Don't Make Me Think, version 2. It's by Steve Kurk, is one of my best pastimes. Anytime you open it, it blows your brain. If you want to read more about data visualization and how data can be presented, there is a book called Beautiful Evidence is the name of the book that you can refer. Information is Beautiful is another book that you can refer to. Reading, get a subscription to Medium. I think that is wonderful. 3,500 rupees a year is not expensive at all to be in touch with the community and check out whatever is going on. And again, a reminder, everything written on Medium or you have heard in this session are personal opinions. It is you who decides that which advice to take. and which device to follow or ignore. So keep designing. Practice has no cure. You actually need to practice to become a better designer every time. And what are your thoughts about augmented reality? Is the real user experience that the user encounters? Um, AR, sorry, I may have misunderstood the question here, or you may have to reframe it for me, Anand. Um, my thoughts on augmented reality is that there will be more of it that we are going to see in the future, because we are generally hamper anything that we see. So augmentation, I think, is ideal. The smart um, glasses, as they are going to come, when you're going to wear them, there will be layover of data on the screen, and I think that is when it would be critical that the augmentation is the way ahead. The glasses will go down in size. Right now, the Hololens feels like you're wearing a helmet of sorts, but they should come down in size and shape, and we can wear your smart glasses everywhere and get the data or the information which you actually need. Once I had a project with Santander Bank when I was asked to design for Google Glass, and I thought it's easy. I can just simply do a Google search and see what are the things which are available out there. And it turns out I couldn't find any, and it was very early in the beginning, and I had to read and go through all the documentation that the Google had provided for developers and designers for the canvas sizing and all that. And then we designed a system which guided the user to the nearest cash machine. So you will get a chance to do those benchmarking designs in the future too, and keep an open mind to it. You don't necessarily will find um, a precedence of what you're trying to design, but augmented reality should take precedence over virtual one. And as I was talking about virtual reality applications, I think, um, say you have a geo broadband connection in your house, and it has a port where you connect your VR headset, and the virtual reality headset, you can be part of the crowd at a stadium. So say an IPL match is going on, and one VR camera is placed in dugout of each of the teams, either of the stands. So you can be part of the team. You can sit with the players. You can uh, see the ongoings from that spider cam. It may happen, and I think that is the commercial aspect of VR that will give it a better understanding. So I can sell tickets from a dugout. I can pay special money for the entire season for a particular team, or the entire of the matches, or I can select which of the teams that I want to see, or I just want to be in the crowd stands. So each ticket, all they need to do is stream from there, and I can just access it by the rig. If not wireless, even with the wired controllers, I can be part of the match which is streamed live. Think about football World Cups and the way it is going to change. Think about being in Santorini on the beach, or on the clouds, or maybe on the first floor of the Eiffel Tower. And it will be possible with VR live streams charging money. But without the event based inclusion, it is not going to be the way people are intending it to go. Uh, so that is where I think AR and VR are headed. Oh, you're welcome, Anand. As a UX designer, the real task is to design for AR, VR, then a normal application on the website. The real play with site comes into the picture. Yes, that is where you actually need to read the laws of, well, Gestalt's theory. Gestalt's principles are very interesting. And if you do a Google search, there are plenty of articles that you can read on Gestalt's theory that will alter your perception about design. Each article will come up with some sort of a visual guide associated with them. Heuristics, design heuristics as recommended by Jakob Nelson are, well, they wrote it in mid 90s, but they are still relevant. So you guys should read them as Bible. Join NN Group's mailing list. Read all the articles that they share. So Tanya has asked, how should we start with AR VR UX? Can you suggest any resources? Um, so first is that the canvas they use is a 360 one. So you can start by deciding the viewport that you are getting, and then you can start preparing that what will happen on the one end and the other. So I think information architecture is the first part, or the interaction design is the second one you can actually begin with. You need to find the ready toolkits which are provided for developers by these bigger organizations. So Facebook's Oculus has a entire department dedicated for development, and you can refer to those guidelines first, because since it is a new thing, not many open resources are available that how you can actually begin in that direction, but to read whatever is provided by the SDKs as supplied by the product companies. So even Google Cardboard AR, there is Keten guidelines available that you need to access, and same thing goes for Oculus devices. Galaxy Gear is another device which comes from Samsung, and it has its own SDK that you guys can look into. But these devices are expensive. I mean, to get a Oculus, the cheapest one, I think it costs somewhere around 60,000 rupees or something. And then with the limited usage, or the content availability causes a lot of trouble. Same thing happened with 3D television. People bought them, but the content creation wasn't possible, and people said we don't want to wear those glasses all the time, and that led to the demise of 3D television in general. I, for one, am very excited for 3D television. I really love it. I download or convert my regular television into 3D if need be, and like to watch that sort of content. But more weight on your ears and eyes, it is not possible to sustain for longer period of time. So with the last 2 minutes to go, if you have one more question, then we can take, or we can call it a day. So as the questions are coming, or if not coming, I would say it was a pleasure to interact with you guys. I hope I was of any value addition to your understanding about the designs of the future and how the world is going to be. And thank you, Anand. And I hope that you guys have a grand, successful design careers ahead of you. And hope that we get the opportunity to connect once again in the future. So yeah, just hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter, and then we can have further chats. So thank you very much for joining in today, and have a good day. Bye, guys.